Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is Apostate Mommy. How is everybody doing? I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I hope you're really enjoying your day today. What's up? What's going on? How is everybody doing? Uh, hey, David, how are you doing?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Good, good. Man, what are you talking about?
What, dude? What do you want to say?
No, it's not appropriate. You're using the wrong thing. Gender here.
Ma'am.
Ma'am, yeah. Or mom. What about mom?
Mom.
Mom, yeah. That's that works. For those who are confused about my appearance, don't be confused. I recently, today I came across some videos from Ninja Mommy, and I was very inspired by how she was living and how she was telling us about herself and about her own life. So I wanted to understand her more. So I decided to live more like her, live more like them, and to veil myself in order to build empathy and understanding, and together make a better world. And I've also seen, of course, that YouTube is really promoting hijabi YouTubers like Ninja Mommy. Like, she's everywhere on everyone's feed. Even if they say don't recommend this channel, she keeps getting recommended. So I thought, I guess if YouTube recommends a channel so much and insists on it, even if you explicitly reject it and want to get rid of it, I guess there must be something good about that. There must be some virtue, some greatness, some beauty about this. So I decided to also go that path, and to also join the ranks of Ninja Mommy and other very wonderful people, personalities who do this. I'm showing a little bit too much skin, and I'm very sorry about
You're
that.
showing way too much skin, bucko. You got followers of Muhammad who are watching this.
Oh yeah.
And I have to point out, you chose red. Seriously? Knowing how you're going to tempt some followers of Muhammad?
Well, it's cute. Goodness, man. It's cute. They do that too.
Like, I'm just saying you're clearly trying to tempt everyone.
Yeah.
Next thing you'll be wearing makeup.
I already am. It's under. You can't see it. Okay. Yeah, I'm hiding it for my spouse. Yeah. I'm still practicing on how to start my videos with this. Hey guys, hi guys. I have to work on that. I don't know. Yeah. So David, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing all right. Hey, while we're on the topic of burqas looking like, ninja costumes. What? Not a lot of people notice it when they get older, but kids notice it immediately. One day I was on, this was years ago, and my son Luke was maybe 5 or something, and I was on Robert Spencer's site Jihad Watch, and there's a picture of a woman in a burqa there, and my son Luke, who was like 5 at the time, goes, "Hey, what are you looking at that ninja for?" And that brought up a story that Nabil told me. He said he had his nephew who had grown up, pretty westernized, and he was walking with his nephew by a woman in a burqa, and he said his nephew goes, "Ninja!" and freaked out, right? So anyway, Nabil and I were over in the UK one time, and this is back before people really hated us. We were there for a series of debates with some Muslim apologists, and for a long time we were hanging out with Muslims. We were walking around and getting food and stuff like that with a group of maybe, I don't know, 7 or 8 Muslims, probably. Most of them were apologists who were on YouTube, which was pretty new back then. And there's this area not far from Hyde Park, and it's a street, and you go down the street and all the signs are in Arabic. All the women are in burqas and so on. And we're walking down the street. Yeah. And I'm not gonna name him, but he is on YouTube. I'm walking beside a Muslim apologist, and I turn and I go, "Hey, if Islam's a religion of peace, how come you guys got so many ninjas? Right. And he turns around and he goes, why are your churches filled with whores? And I'm like, oh gosh, you guys don't have much of a sense of humor about this, do you? But here's what I find strange about that, right? You got all these, you have Muslim women and they'll use these names like ninja mommy and ninja this and ninja that. They'll, sort of playing on the, their outfit kind of looking like a ninja outfit. But if I do the same thing, I'm culturally insensitive and a bigot and a racist and an Islamophobe. And it's like, can't we all agree that that outfit looks like a ninja? Except unless it's red. If it's black, it definitely looks like a ninja costume. And we can all have a good sense of humor about that. That's all I'm saying.
That is very insensitive of you, David. I don't know what you're thinking by just even starting this conversation like this. I'm thinking of deleting the stream and starting from the beginning again.
Yeah, you do.
What have you done? What have you done? How could you possibly suggest that this looks anything like a ninja costume? I mean, how could Ninja Mommy suggest that this looks like a ninja costume? I don't know.
It looked like a ninja who went on a killing spree and got blood all over your ninja burqa.
Do I sound different, by the way? Can you hear me muffled? Is that a thing? Is that
Nope. It's made for things made for good communication.
You know what though? It's definitely not made for comfort, because they have been telling me that, it makes no difference at all. It's actually, you just get a breeze and it's good and this and that. I'm sweating like crazy right now. It's like, it's horrible.
Well, what's good is I can't catch COVID from you now.
Yeah, that's the good thing. That's the good thing, and that's why COVID actually happened.
This is the miracle of Islam.
Yes. This is the miracle of Islam.
Islam already protected you from COVID.
Allah brought COVID so that everybody can experience. So that everybody,
women.
Yeah, everybody can experience what it's like to hijab. Yeah,
men not so much.
Yeah. This is the miracle of Allah. So everyone can experience that. Yeah. So, David, enough about this this topic. I don't know why we're even talking about it. Wait a minute. How about you? So you have been gone for a while now, and it looks like you kind of turned your back on YouTube, and you don't want to do YouTube anymore. It's what it looks like. Is that true?
No, I'm just waiting for this sort of wave of random bans and strikes and all that crap to get out of the way. Looks like they programmed a bunch of bots. Well, they actually did. They admitted it. And it gets way more false. It hands out way more false strikes and even channel takedowns than before. But basically, YouTube said a while back that they can't have as many people working because of COVID. Therefore, they're assigning a lot of work to bots, even though they know the bots are massively more unreliable than humans actually looking at your system. So when you start getting like random strikes from videos from years ago, you start thinking YouTube is targeting you, but then you go on Twitter and you realize it's happening to tons of people. It's happening to all kinds of people, just random strikes over random weird stuff. And so it's basically the good thing is I've won all the appeals. There's one that I lost, but then people complained on Twitter, and then that was overturned. So but I'm getting like takedowns and strikes like every week. And what sucks is sometimes they're quick about the turnaround. Like you put in your appeal and you'll get your response a couple hours later. But sometimes they'll take the entire week. So you're banned for a week and then they admit they're wrong after a week, but you've been banned for a week. You should get credit for that. You know what I mean? It should be like, okay, we banned you for a week and we were wrong. So next time we're banning you, we're giving you time served on that. Yeah. It should be something like that. Yeah. But anyway, it's basically a situation where they'll ban me for a while. I'm not banned right now. I can make a video right now. In fact, I'll probably make a video tomorrow, but I end up doing other stuff while I'm banned. So I'll get banned. And then I'm like, okay, well, I have a couple days before they figure this out. Let me start building something. So I just been like, I built my new background there. See, I got a new background.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even notice.
I had a bed that was giving me problems for a long time. And I was like, I could actually make this bed better than they did. It was wood. So I fixed that. And yeah, we're putting together a shed later this week. And so anyway, I started building a bunch of stuff around the house while I'm under various temporary bans that I keep winning, and they keep it. And what's funny is, like, on Twitter, you see all these people, like tons of them every day. Why did you bet? There's nothing in this video that you say I did, and so on. And
Mhm.
the people who win, then YouTube will apologize, and then the people who've lost their appeal and then still complain, and they're sitting there putting up on the screen YouTube saying, well, we treat appeals very carefully, and we read your appeals very carefully. But then YouTube later overturns, the rejected appeal and reinstates the person. And so it's like, they clearly do not read the appeals carefully, or they wouldn't have to overturn so many of their other appeals. But anyway, massively sloppy process. Sometimes I get fed up with it and just start building stuff. But again, have the good side is I have won all of them, so doesn't look like my channel's in any long-term danger. But it is annoying. I was just hoping that, hey, if I just mind my own business and do other things for a couple weeks, maybe they fix their system. I don't know. I'll start because the bans seem to pick up when I start posting again. Even though it's banning stuff from years ago, they still come as soon as I start posting again. They'll start banning more stuff from years ago. And anyway, yeah, I'll try posting again, see what happens.
That's interesting. So when will you convert to Islam?
When these guys come up with some sort of evidence that it's true and that Jesus isn't, something like that.
So what if I tell you that I can come up with evidence and that I can?
Oh, that'd be awesome. Now. That'd be awesome.
Okay, evidence number one. Look at this. I'm going to make a few arguments, and you have to tell me. You have to respond to me sufficiently, otherwise you will be humiliated and destroyed forever. By the way, it's a funny thing when you turn your head that way, as you just did, the other way slightly. It looks like you have a kippah on, like a Jewish hat on, So it looks like
this.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's interesting. Just a very unimportant fact to point out.
Is that what it's called, a kippah?
Or yarmulke?
Yarmulke,
yeah.
They use both terms.
I think you could use them interchangeably, or they actually stand for different things in different circumstances and practices. I don't know. I know both terms, but I can't act like I know very much about that, because otherwise I will blow my cover. So one of the major proofs that Islam is true is, let's see, that Muhammad was a reliable man.
What do you mean, reliable man?
Excuse me. People have said that people in his time have said that Muhammad was a trustworthy man, and he was known as Muhammad al-Amin, which means Muhammad the trustworthy. So if Muhammad was a trustworthy man, if he was a reliable man, how could it be that he just made up a wrong religion, a false religion, that he just lied and this and that? Isn't this complete proof already that Islam is true?
Complete proof. Yeah. So just think about this. Imagine, someone's reliable in certain things, like he generally keeps his word and so on. Does that mean the person couldn't be insane or couldn't be demon possessed or something like that? If you say no, a person who's generally reliable and generally tells the truth, then he must be reliable on these issues. You can do the same thing with someone like Joseph Smith, right? I mean, people around him would have said, people around him would have said, man, this dude's as good as gold, according to the Mormon records, right? So are Muslims ready to accept him? Of course not. And I have to say, character-wise, not a big fan of Joseph Smith, but he is light years better than Muhammad, the prophet of Islam. So if I had to pick one, I'd go with Joseph Smith, even though I'm clearly not going to trust Joseph Smith. But mentioning that sort of goes into into the next issue of our sources on how wonderful Joseph Smith was generally come from Mormons, and are just like our sources from about Muhammad. Well, all of them come from Muslims, right? So they're all Muslims telling us what people said. And so if you go through the hadith, what's amazing is almost every time I quote a hadith, Muslims say, you can't trust that. You can't trust that. And what they're telling me is Muslims were making up stories about Muhammad. In fact, if you look at the background of collections like Bukhari one of his main reasons for putting together his collection was that people were making so many false claims and false stories about Muhammad. And so he said, we have to get to, things that are more reliable. Well, he actually went through literally hundreds of thousands of stories to get to the ones that he considered most reliable. And I quote the ones that he considered most reliable, and Muslims left and right tell me, you can't trust that. That's just the hadith and so on. So the point is, even Muslims admit that Muslims were fabricating stories about Muhammad like it was a sport. And so if a Muslim comes to me and says, yes, but people said he was reliable. Okay, according to early Muslims who you admit were chronic compulsive liars. You have that. So, you have those kinds of issues, but then you have then you have the Quran and the Hadith filled with stories about unbelievers saying Muhammad is totally unreliable, that he's a madman, he's crazy, he's demon possessed, and you can't trust this. You can't a womanizer. You can't trust this guy about anything.
Okay, but why are you appealing to non-Muslims? Of course, they will say that Muhammad was not reliable because they are non-Muslims. Otherwise, they would be Muslims. It looks to me like you're just being dishonest right now, and you're just babbling and denying the truth. Although you clearly know that Muhammad is
interesting, right? So check this out. Muslims will bring up the. It's just like they do today, right? If they find anyone, any public figure from the past 3 centuries to say, and Muhammad was a good guy, they'll quote that. You see, this is the proof of Islam. And if you show later that same person says, well, you can't trust Muhammad. Well, you can't trust what that person says. He's an unbeliever. And so notice it's whatever we find in our sources that portrays Muhammad as a good guy or someone liking Muhammad, you can trust that. But if someone says Muhammad was bad, you can't trust that evil unbeliever. And so it's just it's this irrational sort of basically shifting your opinion of people based on whether they're affirming your prophet or denying the prophet. And but here's what's interesting. From a historian's perspective, that should be reversed, right? It should be reversed. In other words, when we quote a Muslim source showing something negative about Muhammad, the Muslim says, oh, you can't trust that. We have to throw that out. It's unreliable. Or you can't trust what that person says in the Muslim sources because that was an evil unbeliever, or it's a weak hadith or something like that. They'll want to throw that out. And anything good about Muhammad, they'll say, yes, that you see, that's as good as gold. Whereas a historian completely reverses that. A historian says, wait a minute, if these sources are written by Muslims, then when the Muslim sources say something positive about Muhammad, we have to be somewhat critical of that, because these are the sort of things people would make up. People make up miracle stories, for instance. Doesn't mean that he didn't perform a miracle. It means that when someone says, aha, Muhammad performed a miracle, and the source is like 200 years after the time of Muhammad, you have to say, wait a minute, is a miracle story something that someone would make up if we know these guys were making things up? Yes, that's exactly the sort of thing they would make up. Whereas a historian would say, okay, something like the satanic verses that Muhammad was tricked by Satan into delivering revelations that promoted polytheism. Even though we have dozens of Muslim sources on this, the historian would say, is that the sort of thing someone would make up? No. Why would a Muslim make up a bunch of stories about Muhammad delivering revelations from the devil? Why would a Muslim make up stories about Muhammad being a victim of black magic? Why would a Muslim invent stories about Muhammad repeatedly trying to kill himself? So the historian looks at the negative stories and says, okay, since there's no good reason for Muslims to make these up, those are actually more trustworthy. And the stories presenting positive things, especially that come years late, centuries later sometimes, you have to view those with a good bit of skepticism. The Muslim completely reverses the historical method and says, anything good about Muhammad that's in our sources, we'll trust it. Anything bad, we'll throw it out. So basically the complete reversal of how history works.
Okay, so now that, as we can see, you haven't debunked a single thing.
I'm just saying, if you got a guy who repeatedly received revelations that have no purpose other than justifying his desires. Even his wife Aisha noticed this and said, your Lord hastens to satisfy your wishes and desires. Yeah. When you've got a guy who repeatedly tries to hurl himself off a cliff, when you got a guy who thought he was demon possessed, when you got a guy who admittedly delivered revelations from the devil, when you got a guy who was convinced and admitted that he was a victim of black magic, all of this from Muslim sources, you would say that this is the least reliable person in all of history. And then even the people Muslims are appealing to, they're saying, but the unbelievers admitted that he was trustworthy. Now, read your book. The unbelievers said that he was a demon-possessed liar and a madman.
Okay, but the Quran says many times, like over a dozen times, it says, no, he's not possessed. No, he's not crazy. No,
Yeah.
he's not insane. No, he's not a poet. No, he's not making it up. No, he's not a liar. The
So the
Quran
guy
keeps
that
saying
everyone
that
says
stuff.
is crazy and demon-possessed is receiving revelations, which he was the first one to actually think they're demonic in origin. And the guy who admittedly was a victim of magic spells that gave him delusional thoughts and false beliefs, that guy received responses to all the people who thought he was nuts. And it's, it said he's not nuts. And you and I have pointed this out before. What kind of rational person with properly functioning cognitive faculties has to be told on a daily basis, don't worry, you're not crazy. You're not crazy. You're not crazy. You're not crazy. You're not crazy.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I've been in mental hospitals and I don't need to be told on a daily basis that I'm not crazy and have everyone around me. Notice he would receive these revelations, have his followers memorize and recite them. So his followers around him are constantly reciting these verses. Muhammad's not crazy. Muhammad's not crazy. Muhammad's not crazy. Muhammad's not crazy. And he's, oh yes, everyone's saying I'm not crazy. I must not be crazy. No, you're nuts, dude.
Well, what you have to understand is that when nobody believed him, the jinns believed him.
Yep, the jinns did.
So that's one thing. So now that Muhammad was a reliable, you denied that, but you basically came to accept that. Now that argument has collapsed,
Alhamdulillah.
let's go. And now that you have been humiliated on that point, let's come to the next proof for Islam's truth. The Quran has never been changed, and it has been preserved as it is from the very beginning. And the Quran is the only book that has never been changed, and you know that very well.
You're a funny dude, man.
So you accept that as well?
This is another example of what I was just talking about, right? You go through the Muslim sources, they talk about entire chapters of the Quran coming up missing. This is in Sahih Muslim. Abu Musa is warning the reciters of Basra not to harden their hearts and forget more chapters of the Quran. So entire chapter, and he mentions verses from 2 chapters that are missing now. They're missing from the Quran. So, and one of them was as long as Surah 9, he said. So that's a lot of verses. So you've got that. You've got Ubay ibn Ka'b, who is considered the best reciter of the Quran. Ubay ibn Ka'b said that more than 200 verses came up missing just from Surah 33. Aisha said that she talked about the same chapter, but she said it was more than 100 verses came up missing from Surah 33. And if you look at why those verses came up missing, so many of the people who had parts of the Quran memorized died in battle. And it's just a Muslim myth that there were all these people who had the entire Quran memorized. So entire chapters came up missing. You had Muhammad's own top scholars couldn't agree on which chapters were supposed to be in the Quran. Ubay ibn Ka'b had 116 chapters in his Quran. The Quran today has 114 because it goes back supposedly to Zayd ibn Thabit. Ibn Masood was Muhammad's top guy. Muhammad said, if you want to learn the Quran from anyone, learn it from Ibn Masood. Ibn Masood had 111 chapters in his Quran. He didn't believe that Surah 1, Surah 113, or Surah 114 are supposed to be in the Quran. He said, these are prayers. These are us talking to Allah. This is not Allah's eternal speech directed towards us. So they couldn't even agree on which chapters were supposed to be in the Quran. Then you ended up with, when people started compiling their own editions of the Quran, they had so many differences that Muslims were worried about war breaking out over who had the correct Quran. So the Caliph Uthman has to order everyone to hand over the Qurans so that he can issue a standardized Quran and then burn all the variants. And so he burns all these manuscripts. And even after that, it didn't work. You still ended up with differences in the Qurans. Now they call it, different kirat, and they explain it. And they talk about different ahruf and so on, that Allah revealed it in different ways. And it's basically one giant mess. I mean, according to Aisha in Sunan Ibn Majah, 1944, she had the only copy of the verse of stoning an adulteress and the verse of breastfeeding adults, and she had the only copy, and it was eaten by a sheep. And you look today, oops, they're not in the Quran.
How can you blame that sheep?
Yeah, blame the sheep.
It's how can you blame the sheep?
Yeah, and so you'd have to, if you wanted to defend perfect preservation, you have to say that Allah inspired that sheep to go and eat some parts that he wanted abrogated, to have those parts taken out. And so you look at the history of the Quran, it's one giant mess. They can't agree on which chapters are supposed to be in there. Chapters come up missing. Large passages come up missing. Verses are eaten by a sheep.
Okay, David, we've heard these poor excuses many times before. They have been refuted by Islamic scholars. If you listen to Ibn Kathir and all the Muslim scholars, they will clearly say that the Quran has been perfectly preserved.
Here's what's interesting though. But this goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Is now you could quote all those sources to Muslims. Look at all these things, all these stories about the Quran being changed over and over again. You can't believe any of that. What am I supposed to believe? What could I possibly know about the history of the Quran apart from actually going to your sources or people looking at manuscripts? That's where we'd go. And when we go there, we find all these differences and all these stories about Islam, the Quran being changed. And you say, well, don't believe those, just believe in perfect preservation. Wait a minute, where could your evidence possibly be? Well, our evidence is that there's only one Quran in the world. That's false. That's false. You go to places in Africa, you go to different parts of the world, they have different Qurans with different words. So yeah, I'm afraid this is just a big, massive lie. But notice it's the same thing. It's, you have these negative stories about Muhammad, people making fun of Muhammad trying to commit suicide, Muhammad delivering revelations from the devil. You can't trust any of those. You can just trust Muhammad being completely reliable, even though it goes against all the evidence in our sources. Same thing with the Quran. There's all these stories about the Quran being changed over and over and over again. Don't believe any of those stories. Just believe in perfect preservation, even though it flies in the face of all the evidence. And so that's basically what you have in Islamic apologetics. It's always, always, always reject all of the clear evidence and just believe what we're saying.
Raymond Salam said there's a giant GameCube in the Mecca, so convert. Interesting point.
Giant
so
Xbox.
as you can see, David did not present a single piece of evidence. He didn't cite a scholar, nor did he present scientific evidence or findings for the corruption of the Quran, because the Quran has been perfectly preserved. He has been hereby destroyed on that too. Somebody made a super chat. I want to quickly ask you a question about that, because I think it's important. Luxorism said, I heard a group of Muslims will pay you to become Muslim, David. Will you do it if they pay you? Or is that a hail no?
No, you give me $1 trillion, I wouldn't convert to that. Although I do know two Arab pastors. I know two Arab pastors who were both offered millions of dollars to convert to Islam, write a book on how it was their careful study of the Quran and the Bible, which convinced them that the Quran is true and the Bible's false. And put out that book, and they were offered millions of dollars to do that. And so notice that's how apologetics works in Islam.
Yeah, we also have some regular Western people who either convert to Islam or simply stay Christians or something else, and then promote Islam as they are supposed to do. So I want to come to the next question here, which is one issue here is that there are no mistakes and no contradictions in the Quran, which clearly proves that Islam is true. This is the third proof that I think you would have to concede and you can't refute. What will you say about that?
Yeah, the idea of no mistakes. Here it comes to the same thing. Whenever anything clearly refutes the claim that the Muslim apologist is making, then they either have to throw out the source or there's a miracle, the miracle of reinterpretation. So you could just look at something like Surah 18, verse 86 of the Quran, which says that Dhul Qarnayn, who is clearly Alexander the Great, traveled so far west, he found the place where the sun sets, and he found the sun setting in a muddy pool.
Okay, it's a metaphysical matter, though. So.
Yeah, well, and notice the passage clearly says that he went there, he found the setting place of the sun and found it going down into a pool. And Muslims will say, well, reinterpret that. And well, what it really means is he saw a reflection or something like that. But you also have the hadith. You have in Sunan Abu Dawud a Sahih narration where Muhammad isn't talking about Dhul Qarnayn. He's not talking about any sort of optical illusion he saw. He just asked one of his followers, hey, where's the sun going when it sets? And his follower says, you're the prophet. You're the one who knows. And Muhammad says it's going to set in a pool of water. So there, he's not talking about some optical illusion or something like that you'll see if you see this, sun reflecting on a body of water or something like that. He's saying where the sun actually goes. And so what do Muslims have to do? They have to reinterpret the Quran. They have to throw out the hadith, a sahih narration where Muhammad says where the sun goes. And that's, notice, it's, we're going to assume from the beginning, notice this is circular reasoning, right? We have to assume from the beginning that the Quran is perfect and without error, without mistake. And what do you do when you get to a mistake? Well, we have to reinterpret it. Why do you have to reinterpret it? Because there's no way the Quran is this wrong about something. The Quran couldn't actually be saying that the sun sets in a muddy pool. There's no way. Therefore, he must mean something else. Well, what about this hadith, which shows that's exactly how Muhammad interpreted it to mean that the sun actually sets in a pool? What about that? Well, that has to be thrown out. Why? Because Muhammad couldn't be wrong, because, he's the prophet, and there's no way he's wrong about, he's wrong about what the Quran says. And so it's just this massive circular thing. And, you could do that with anything. You could do that with anything. I have books back here. I have, Plato, Aristotle. You could take passages. You could take, something from Aristotle where he talks about animals and so on. And everywhere he gets it right, you say, you see, this is a clear proof. And everywhere he gets something wrong, you reinterpret it. And you can prove, my goodness, how could Aristotle 1,000 years before the time of Muhammad have gotten everything right that he ever talked about? Well, he didn't get everything right. He got a bunch of stuff wrong. What, you can reinterpret that if you want to. And so
We don't need Play-Doh.
Bad argument, dude.
Kids play with Play-Doh. We need Allah and Muhammad. That's all we need. But the thing is, what you have clearly not heard is that this is a metaphysical matter. For Brother Farid has already dealt with this matter, and he has already responded to it and said that the movement of the sun is a metaphysical matter, and thereby he has completely already answered your question. So you're just repeating refuted things right now.
What does that mean? All kinds of things are metaphysical matters. The Quran says that the sun sets in a muddy pool. That's not a metaphysical matter. That's a scientific claim. Unless they want to say that the Quran isn't making any sort of scientific claim there. Like if the Quran said the sun sets, right? We talk about the sun setting. We're not making any sort of, scientific claim about the sun actually setting. That's how we speak. But if you're saying that Dhul Qarnayn found the place where the sun sets in a pool of water, there are people living there. If that's just some sort of, figure of speech, what in the world is that even talking about? But notice it's like error upon error upon error. No one named Dhul Qarnayn, certainly not Alexander the Great, never found any place where the sun sets. There is no place where the sun sets. The sun doesn't go in a pool of water. If the sun did set in a pool of water, as the Quran claims, that would mean that the sun is massively smaller than the earth. That's false. Since there is no place, there are no people who live there. So it's like error after error after error after error, and no point to the story to where you could say it's, this is just a figure of speech or something like that.
Mhm.
And Muhammad himself took it seriously and believed that the sun sets in a pool. So if you'd have to say that Allah was so unclear in his speech that he even deceived his own prophet through his, bad, unclear speech, and to say, well, this is just metaphysical, what in the world does that mean? I mean, these are the guys who are saying there are no errors in the Quran. These are the guys saying that, the Quran is, has miraculous scientific accuracy that confirms that it's true. And so, yeah, not buying it here.
Well, that's just your opinion. What do you think about the fact that the Quran has many scientific miracles? For example, the Quran explains that that the universe, that the Quran, for example, explains the Big Bang. It says that the Big Bang happened, and that Allah made the Big Bang, and that Allah expanded everything from one single piece, and nobody could have known that 1,400 years ago. So the Quran is obvious miracles, which is another proof that Islam is true. And
nope.
Let's come to the next proof, since you cannot respond to that anyway.
No, I can respond to that. What the Quran actually says is that Allah separated the heavens and the earth. So you had the earth and the heavens, and they were one. They were one, and then Allah broke them apart. Muslims say this is the Big Bang, and the heavens are the universe, and then you have the earth. And so, no scientist in modern times would say that the Big Bang is the earth being separated from the universe, right? One, the earth wasn't there, according to the main cosmological picture that is being presented today, which Muslims are appealing to in saying that the Quran says this. The earth wasn't there. And so if the earth wasn't there, then obviously it's not the earth being separated from the universe too. Even now, the earth is not separate from the universe. The earth is part of the universe. So there's nothing correct there. Three, if you actually look, if you go into the details, the Quran says that Allah made he separates the earth from the heavens, but the heavens are without form. There's nothing. It's just a big blob. Then he takes the earth, fashions the earth, sets up everything with life and everything else. Then he turns to the heaven and makes the stars. So stars come after the earth is fully up and running. And so, it's just what you find in Dawah. Dawah is deception. Dawah is always deception. They'll go to some little part of some verse, completely ignore the passage, and then say, you see, this is confirmed by modern science, knowing that the vast majority of Muslims and non-Muslims in the audience will just hear it and believe their speaker, right? They assume that these people are telling the truth. Their da'is are telling them the truth about their religion. And all you have to do is look it up. But they know, hey, wait a minute. If we tell 1,000 people, about this miracle, the Quran refers to the Big Bang when it says there's a separation. There's a separation. And people will just, alhamdulillah, this is proof. Wow, our religion is true. And it never crosses their minds to actually sit down and read the passage, which says that, the earth is there. It had to be separated from the universe. And then after the earth is up and running, then Allah creates the stars. No one's going to, that is not correct. That's not correct. And so here again, if you wanted to say, hey, Allah is making some other point, he's not really talking about science, that's fine, but they'll actually use this as a miracle that proves that Islam is true, when the whole story is certainly not confirmed by science. No scientist would take this seriously.
Okay, what about the fact that Islam is the only religion that actually looks out for its believers? Since when people don't believe in the religion, they will not go to the good place. And if one person disbelieves, then that might lead to other people disbelieving. And Islam is the only religion that takes that in consideration, and therefore orders that people who leave Islam should be executed, which clearly shows that Islam is very caring about its own community. And this thereby, if you go down with this, you find out that Islam is clearly true. What do you say about that?
If you look at the psychology of Muhammad, you see the real reason behind the killing apostates. It's so Muhammad's father dies before he's born. He's sent to live with a family of Bedouins. They conclude that he's demon possessed and send him back to his mother after a couple of years. Then his mother dies when he's 6, so he's sent to live with his grandfather. His grandfather dies 2 years later when he's 8, and then his uncle is supposed to take care of him. But until you can start working, they basically made sure you didn't starve to death. And so what happens to kids who go through those kinds of issues when they're young, they develop some severe abandonment issues, terrified of people leaving them. And you look, and then Muhammad gets older, and hey, all of a sudden, anyone who leaves my religion has to die. And therefore, no one's going to leave my religion because I will kill you. That seems like a much more likely explanation than that Muhammad is really looking out for his community. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that just sounds very Islamophobic of you right now.
You're Islamophobic. What?
What about the fact that so if something is true, then it is expected that the certain thing that is true is also beautiful. What about the fact that the Quran sounds beautiful when you sing it? Have you ever heard Quran recitation? If you haven't heard Quran recitations before, listen to a Quran recitation, and you will start feeling this amazing feeling, and you will just know that it is true. You just feel it, that it is true. So what do you say about that? That's clear proof that Islam is true.
I've never got that feeling from the Quran, but people get the same feelings from various songs, love songs, music. symphonies and so on. And so if we are applying that as the criterion that, hey, giving you great feelings or sounding beautiful means it's from God, well, great. Then Mozart was the inspired music of God. Very, very strange position. And again, I've never thought the Quran sounds very amazing. I tried to understand the argument once. I was on this long car ride, and I decided I was just going to listen to the Quran being recited for during this car ride, and I ended up getting a massive headache. But it's funny. I have a friend, Usama Dakdok, and he says that he meets Westerners and so on, and say, oh, but the Quran is so beautiful. I hear it, and then I just it sounds so amazing. It's wonderful. And then he goes, oh, you mean like this? And he'll start chanting some Arabic, and they'll go, yeah, that's what I mean. And he goes, do you know what I just said to you? I said I'm going to cut your neck. I'm going to slit your throat and drink the blood that comes out. That's what I told you in Arabic, right? And they're like, what? It sounded so beautiful. And so, yeah, I guess there are people who just find other languages impressive, but you could do this with anything, right? I mean, imagine some, reciting some, I mean, I can't stand French, but the language sounds pretty cool. I imagine if, you could recite it, you could listen to some Italian opera or something like that. It would sound awesome. What in the name of common sense does that have to do with something being the inspired word of God?
Yeah. How about let's just do this? Something that you cannot run away from. Be very honest. What would you rather listen to? Pink Floyd or the
Pink
Quran?
Floyd.
No, you're just lying. This just means that you're lying, and that you know that Islam is true, but you're not admitting it. First off, the Quran says that those, it's very obvious that if you hear the Quran, then you find out that it is true, that it's right, and it sounds good.
Stupidest argument in history.
And the Quran says that you would believe. Wait a minute. It says you would believe if Allah wanted you to believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, maybe that's a bad argument. Let's skip that. So,
yeah, here's what's interesting, right? I mean, if you look at how Muhammad argued, it's like he just kept trying different things until he came upon some stuff that works. So the first, it's around the year 610. He's around 40 years old when he declares that he's a prophet. And back then, his arguments were along the lines of, hey, I'm preaching monotheism, so it must be true. Just ask the Jews and the Christians. Monotheism is true. Two, the Quran is so wonderfully written, it must come from God. What human being could come up with verses like this? And Muhammad's in the Bible. He's in the same line of prophets from the Bible. And so he tries this, and he wins, between 100 and 200 followers over a decade. This is not like a Billy Graham crusade where people are coming down, by the thousands and so on like this every time he speaks. The vast majority of people rejected him and considered him a false prophet. Then he moves to Medina, and once he forms some alliances with various groups and so on, he wins some more followers. Then the message changes to, hey, we're going to go and take everyone's stuff. We're going to go take everyone's stuff, and we're going to take their women, and we're going to take their women as our sex slaves. We're going to take all their stuff and make it our own. And Allah wants us to do this. Suddenly he becomes a really popular prophet. Then when he adds on, oh, and by the way, if you die in battle, then you go to an eternal, paradise of deflowering virgins. All you do for all eternity is deflower virgins.
What else do you want?
Yeah. And so that's when he becomes really, really popular. And then it becomes, convert to my religion, because you're going to get all this stuff. If you leave, you're going to die. And if you disagree with us, we're coming to kill and subjugate you. And wow, then it spread so fast. Well, yeah, it would, wouldn't it? Right. And so it just looks like a guy who's trying everything he can until he comes up with this awesome method. But what actually worked in Islam was subjugating people, taking all their stuff, taking their wives as sex slaves, and everyone wanted to be on board. With that. Those who didn't were killed. And what's interesting is the unsuccessful method was preaching that, oh, this speech is so impressive. They mocked that. The unbelievers mocked that. Right? There was a guy named Al-Nadir who used to follow Muhammad around, and Muhammad would get up and recite some verses. Al-Nadir would get up behind him and make up some verses and challenge Muhammad's followers and say, tell me how what he just said is better than what I just said. Muslims responded by, as soon as they captured him about it, they executed him. Right? They didn't hold him for ransom. They killed that dude. And so, for being as good as Muhammad at delivering supposed revelations.
Well, you shouldn't be as good as Muhammad. So.
Yeah. So the vast majority of people found Muhammad's actual arguments from the amazing Quran and from Muhammad being in the Bible and so on. The vast overwhelming majority of people thought this was completely ridiculous nonsense. Muhammad won popular support. Muhammad won popular support by subjugating and raping and pillaging and so on. And so why do Muslims want to shift it back to the stuff that doesn't work in our time?
Excuse me. The Prophet Muhammad made the brilliant argument in the 7th century Arabia, where nobody could have come up with such a brilliant argument, and has thereby made something better that no philosopher has ever topped so far. He said that infectious diseases do not exist because if one camel infects the other camel, then who infected the first camel?
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Did you guys catch that? That was Muhammad's reasoning. He said there's no such thing as an infectious disease, a disease that spreads from one animal to another, one person to another. And what's the reasoning? The reasoning was that, well, if this camel got it from that camel, they got it from that camel, who got it from that camel, then how did the first camel get it? Busted. There's no way for the first camel who got sick to get the disease if all you catch it from is other camels, and therefore no such thing as infectious diseases. And that has been confirmed.
Destroyed.
Confirmed by
humiliated.
Yeah, it's been confirmed by something.
Wait, let me see. Let me share this brilliant hadith, which will once again prove how wonderful our holy prophet was. I hope I have found the right one, but here it says in Sahih Bukhari 5770, it says, the Prophet said no Adwa, no contagious disease, is conveyed to others without Allah's permission. They added this bracket to make it more understandable. So no infection, nor safar, nor hama exist. A Bedouin said, "O Allah's messenger, what about the camels, which when on the sand look like deers, but when a mangy camel mixes with them, they all get infected with mange?" Is that how you say that? Mange?
Yeah.
What is okay.
That's a skin disease.
Oh, on that, Allah's apostle said, "Then who conveyed the disease to the first camel?"
Yeah,
and nobody could have answered this. So nobody can answer this.
And notice the Bedouin. Mm-hmm. The Bedouin is massively smarter than Muhammad here, right? He's going with sheer observation. We'll have all these camels, and they'll be completely healthy. And then when a camel with mange goes near them, all of a sudden the other ones start getting mange. So Muhammad, isn't this clearly a refutation of your position that diseases can't be spread from one person to another? Doesn't that refute it? He's just going with pure scientific observation. Notice, people back then, that's what you would have to do. Hey, wait a minute. I bring a sick animal next to a healthy animal, and then the healthy animal suddenly gets sick. I need to be careful and not bring sick animals around healthy animals. People were smart enough to realize, hey, there's some connection here. There's somehow a disease is being transmitted from one animal to the next, and therefore I need to keep these sick animals separate. Muhammad says, nope, you're wrong, because I'm going to approach this logically by giving the stupidest argument in the history of humanity. How would the first camel have gotten sick if things spread from one camel to another?
Are you saying that somebody else was smarter than Muhammad?
I'm saying there aren't too many people who weren't smarter than Muhammad.
That's disgusting. Okay. So, but as you can see, look at this. As you can see at this hadith here, the Prophet makes the argument and says, I'm sorry, if diseases spread from one to the other, then who conveyed the disease to the first camel? And as you see here, look, here's clear evidence. As you see here, this is where the hadith ends. There's no response. As you can
Yeah,
see,
he silenced the guy with his brilliant argument.
Nobody responded to him here. Look, this is the end of the hadith. This clearly shows that Muhammad was so brilliant and so smart in his logic and his reasoning that nobody could refute him. And this, again, once more shows that Muhammad was a brilliant prophet.
Hey, and can you imagine, given how Dawah works and so on, right? You would have had the Bedouin, who's the one who's correct here, raising an objection. Muhammad's surrounded by his followers. And then Muhammad says, oh, well, so you say that diseases can be spread from one animal to another. Well, I have a question for you. Who infected the first animal then? And all of his followers would have gone, oh, and they would all run back and go, oh, Muhammad owned this guy. He schooled this guy. Your Bedouin boy got smashed.
Destroyed.
He's destroyed. He's
humiliated.
Refuted. Allahu Akbar. This is the proof that Islam is true. And it's completely idiotic.
Embarrassed yourself. Right? You have been refuted already. Why are you still talking? Destroyed, humiliated, boy.
Dawah. Yeah. That's about it's been going for 14 centuries now.
Clearly shows that Islam is true. So, well, there's one issue, which is so many people have memorized the Quran. If it wasn't true, then how did so many people memorize the Quran? Is there any other book that so many people have memorized? Did you ever memorize a book?
Yeah, Green Eggs and Ham. I guess Green Eggs and Ham by Dr. Seuss must be the inspired word of God, because so many people have memorized it. But I mean, just think about it. Think about when like Katy Perry or someone comes out with a song, Taylor Swift, someone who's like popular with young people who like to memorize lyrics. Just imagine how stupid people would think you are if you said, hey, 1 million people memorized Katy Perry's new song. Therefore, it must be the inspired word of God. People think that's the most idiotic thing in history.
Excuse me, that's brilliant.
And you say, well, the Quran is longer. Well, what if someone memorizes Katy Perry's entire album, right? What if people memorize the lyrics to a bunch of Katy Perry albums? How many people would have to memorize Katy Perry's album until you conclude that it's the inspired word of God? I wouldn't care if everyone on the planet did. I would conclude that has absolutely nothing to do with whether it's the inspired word of God. And yet, this is the amazing proof of Islam. Although there is a massive problem with this argument, Ibn Umar, so the son of the Ibn Umar was a companion of Muhammad. He's the son of the rightly guided Caliph, Umar. He heard people, the younger generation, bragging that they had memorized the entire Quran, and he rebuked them. Said, don't you ever say that you've learned the entire Quran. How do you know what the entire Quran is when so much of it has disappeared? He goes, instead, what you should say is, I've memorized what remains. I've memorized what remains. And so you've got all these Muslims saying, first of all, it's Muslims they exaggerate the number of people. I mean, I've been involved in apologetics and debates for years. I think I've met 2 people ever. I think I've met 2 Muslims ever who said they had the entire Quran memorized. So it's pretty rare. It's common for Muslims to memorize chapters of the Quran. Like Nabil had a bunch of chapters of the Quran memorized. He said it was from when he was a kid. He was sent to a camp where they had you memorize chapters of the Quran. But memorizing chapters of the Quran, if you have a lot of people saying that they memorized the Quran, let's suppose it were 1 million. I'd be surprised if it is, but let's suppose it's 1 million. Well, guess what? A companion of Muhammad said, you haven't learned it because so much of it has disappeared. So you've learned what remains. So how many Muslims have actually memorized the Quran? According to Ibn Umar, 0. No one has.
Yeah. Well,
but notice, AP, the Muslims who use that argument, they've never heard this before. You quote Ibn Umar to them, they've never heard that before.
Well, nobody has to hear it because you just made something very terrible, and by comparing Allah's word to Katy Perry, and somebody pointed that out here as well. You can't do that. I'm sorry. Okay, one more proof, since all your arguments have already collapsed and you have been destroyed. The Quran says that nobody ever can write something like the Quran or better than the Quran. Or it says, if they can, then let them bring a verse or a chapter like it. But they can't. Why? Well, because they are not Allah.
I've seen you repeatedly. Justin, in the community tab, make up verses that sound exactly like the Quran.
Me.
Yeah. So think about all the problems with this. This is a classic situation where if you were to write this argument out, then you could write it as a syllogism, and it would be two premises and a conclusion. That's what a syllogism is. And it would be a syllogism with two false premises, right? So this argument would be written something like, if the unbelievers can't write something like the Quran, then it must come from God. That'd be premise one. Premise two, the unbelievers can't write something like the Quran. And the conclusion would be, therefore, the Quran must be the word of God. Well, premise one, if the unbelievers can't write something like the Quran, then it must be from God. That's completely false. I can't write a play like Romeo and Juliet. You can't either. I can't write a symphony like Mozart. You can't either. What does that have to do with them being the inspired, word of God or the inspired music of God? Absolutely nothing. So not being able to write something like someone else has nothing to do with whether it's from God. So that's a stupid claim. But then you have the second premise of the argument would be, well, it's a fact that unbelievers can't write something like the Quran. I pointed out that you've done it. There's an entire book called The True Furqan where people made an entire Christian version of the Quran. There were people during the time of Muhammad who would make up passages and like Al-Nadir and would say, hey, and tell me, how is what I put, the verses that I put out, how is Muhammad's any better? And people couldn't answer him. They had to kill him instead. And then you even have stories like the Satanic Verses where Muhammad receives revelations from the devil. He delivers these revelations as the Quran when it wasn't. It was made up by Satan. Wait a minute. So Satan, according to the Muslim sources, Satan can make up speech exactly like Allah. And so there's just no way to say, hey, Allah is the only one who could write something like this. Terrible argument. And then you have the fact that Muhammad's own followers couldn't agree on which chapters were supposed to be in the Quran. So they couldn't, there's no test where you just say, oh, this is clearly so wonderful that it must be from God.
Well, here's the issue, David. Since Allah is the ultimate judge of what is the best book, you can write whatever you want. It will never be better than the Quran because Allah will never deem something else better than the Quran because Allah said himself that this is the best thing. So I don't know what you're trying to argue here, but
it's funny. There, I forget who it was. There's a guy years ago. He said that in the Middle East, on bus rides and so on, it was common for there were people who, it's just like on the subway in New York City where you get on there and someone will jump up and start preaching. But on bus rides and so on in the Middle East, there were times when someone would get up to recite the Quran for people, but he would get up and recite the True Furqan, which is an imitation of the Quran to show that you can write something like it. And so he would get up and start reciting from the True Furqan. And Muslims would get off the bus and be thanking him. Thank you for reciting the Quran to us today. They couldn't tell the difference. So, really strange argument here.
Well, he will burn in hell for that.
He's in trouble.
Yep. Okay, here's one big challenge that the Quran makes, a challenge that nobody has ever been able to take, which is it talks about the polytheists, about the mushrikeen, and it says if their beliefs are if the gods that they believe in besides Allah are true, then let them produce their proof. They can't. So therefore, because their beliefs are false. That's what it says. So that's that.
Well, I mean, if you take that seriously, then Muslims can't prove that Islam is true, and so we'd have to reject it. I mean, again, every argument we're given for Islam, it may sound good in a soundbite, like, the Quran talks about the Big Bang. The Quran says that iron was sent down. It's a miracle.
Yeah, what about that? What about that? How are you going to refute
Iron
that?
being sent down.
Yeah.
Notice, I want to make it. I know you've made videos going through scientific miracles. I want to make it. I want to make one on that one. I really want to go through all of this, the so-called scientific miracles. But that's a perfect example. Everyone who actually quotes it, they only quote part of it, where it says iron sent down. And Zakir Naik and everyone else, they'll just quote that part. They never quote the entire verse, because the entire verse says other things were sent down, and it clearly can't be talking about sent down from, being made in stars and so on. And then you look at the rest of the Quran, and cows are sent down, and the Torah is sent down. All these things are sent down, and Muslims, they go to this part about sent down. Oh, you see, this is saying that it's sent down from the sky, and we know that iron came from outer space to Earth because it has to be formed in stars that then go supernova and so on. And you see, it's a scientific miracle. Notice they don't even read the entire verse. If they would quote the entire verse, it would be refuted, right? It would be refuted because you see these other things that are sent down. If you actually read the entire Quran, you find out when the Quran talks about things being sent down, it's just somehow given by Allah. It has nothing to do with coming from outer space.
What you don't realize is cows are sent down. Cows come from outer space.
That's what they have to.
We actually have recent proof for that from NASA. NASA confirmed that sometimes cows come shooting down from outer space.
They hit they hit the moon, and that's what split the moon.
Yes, that's how the moon splitting
NASA
happened.
has admitted all of this.
Yeah,
notice,
I can't find it right now, but I'm pretty sure that NASA actually did say that. Yeah.
It's out there. But notice, once again, dawah is always deception. When is it not deception? When they argue for Muhammad and the Bible, they are targeting people who've never read it, people who've never read these chapters, never read these verses, and they could just say, oh, Muhammad's mentioned in Song of Solomon, Muhammad's mentioned here, knowing that the vast majority of people aren't going to investigate what they're saying and learn that and realize that they're liars. When they give these scientific arguments, the Big Bang, iron sent down, when they give these verses, they're counting on their audience being completely ignorant and not being diligent enough to actually look up the verses and read them in context. They're depending on it. So, what kind of argumentation requires ignorance in its listeners, and ignorance and laziness in its listeners, and relies on complete deception? I just don't think that the truth needs this kind of methodology, and yet it's standard methodology. This is Dawah 101. Find a bunch of people who are ignorant and don't know anything about what you're saying, make up a bunch of things, give them some very selected information, throw out all of the information that would be necessary to come to an informed decision. Because if they know all this additional information from the Quran, they'll know that the argument is completely ridiculous. And then tell them that this is the proof of Islam. Once you've given them a very a small piece of information that you've twisted and distorted and completely ripped out of context, an argument that completely contradicts the rest of the Quran, give them this little bit of information, tell them this is the proof of Islam. And what's sad is it actually works, right? There are tons of ignorant people out there, and there are tons of people who are way too lazy to actually go and look into these things. And those people, wow, this is amazing. It must be the truth. I'll convert.
Yeah. So here's the thing, David. Here is actually nobody. I don't think anybody has done this before. So we will today see this proof for Islam for the first time in history. Brace yourselves. So we just talked about the miracle of iron being sent down from space, and how that is also mentioned in the Quran. And you just said that according to the Quran, cows are also sent down, right? So we said according to the Quran. Well, look at this now. Look at this. I'm pretty sure you know about this nursery rhyme. Oh wait, is that?
Oh, the cow jumped over the moon.
Yeah, wait. What is going on here?
Hey diddle diddle.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you know about this nursery rhyme. It says, "Hey diddle diddle."
The cow jumped over the moon.
The cat and the fiddle. The cow jumped over the moon. The little dog laughed to see such sport, and the dish ran away with the spoon. This came out in the 18th century, 1,200 years after the Quran.
And it's a double miracle, because think about how many parents and kids memorize that. You're talking about, millions of people memorize that. And how could anyone memorize that unless it's the inspired word of God? And so double miracle. Pow.
Yeah. People have been singing this nursery rhyme for like, I don't know, for 2 centuries now,
Mhm.
without knowing that this nursery rhyme actually proves that Islam is the truth and that the Quran is a miracle. I have
Mhm.
no idea why Muslim apologists so far, like Sheikh Uthman ibn Farouk, have not thought about this. They should consider this. This is one more big miracle of the Quran, as you can see.
Mhm.
Yep. So now that we have that out of the way, we have been once more destroyed and humiliated. I think we are very much done. We can only conclude from tonight's conversation. Let me see. Please, everybody, let's comment if you think David Wood has been completely humiliated and destroyed today, and embarrassed, and that Islam has been proven true. If you think so, let us know in the comment section immediately. And don't forget to like this video and say this video is amazing, and share this video. And if you don't like this video, then please share this and say, I don't like this video, I hate it. Please do that. Both ways are completely accepted and appreciated. All right, wonderful, fantastic. GTA 6 is true, I can prove it. Well, the Quran is truer. So let's come to the super chats here. Gnostic Informant said, "You're showing too much."
Yeah, you're acting like a prostitute by showing that arm, dude. You're unwrapped meat. Just think about it, man. You take a lollipop and wrap it up tight, put it on the ground. No ants are crawling all over it. But you take an unwrapped lollipop, put it down, ants crawling all over it.
Ooh.
You're unwrapped lollipop, dude.
We have to show that wrapped candy or unwrapped candy. That was the best argument for the hijab ever. Hijab. Let's see. See if we can find this. Oh yeah, here we have it. This is an old picture which has been used in the Islamic world forever to show how wonderful the hijab actually is. It shows one. Wait a minute. Whatever. So it says hijab. This one is a wrapped candy, and this one is an unwrapped candy. And you see the unwrapped candy has a lot of flies on it, while the wrapped candy is completely protected from all that. So the wrapped candy is a hijabi woman, and the unwrapped candy is a non-hijabi woman who is, of course, a whore that flies all fly on. And says, hijab, which one will you choose? Will you choose the wrapped one or the unwrapped one? Of course, you will choose the wrapped one. And this is clear, an amazing argument why Islam is great, and why the hijab is beautiful and wonderful, and why everybody like me should wear it. You should too. Okay.
Hey, you gonna go through a bunch of super chats?
Do you have to go?
No. I'm saying, well, I have to go in. I have to be out of here in about half an hour.
Okay, I'll just run through them quickly.
No, I'm saying I could do a little Koranagami while you're doing that.
Oh yeah, do that.
Want some Koranagami live?
Do that. Yes. Do that.
I'm a Koranagami master. All right, you take questions and I'll start folding some stuff up.
You're a Quranist Gami. Okay, let us read the super chats here. This is the wrong thing here. What is this? What the hell? What's going on? Where are my super chats?
Did you lose them?
Super chats. Okay, got him. No need for panic, everybody. You can calm down. So I have him. Here it is. Okay. Creditus made a super chat and said, spoiler alert, David Wood will not accept Islam. Well, that's because David Wood, unfortunately, has denied the truth, and he's a kafir hereby. And that's why. Gnostic Informant said, you're showing too much. By the way, Gnostic Informant has a brilliant channel. I was a guest on his channel recently, a few days ago. So please go there and subscribe to him if you're interested in... Wait a minute, I want to put David on here, not myself. What's going on? I wanted to have you side by side so you can show off your brilliant skills there. Whatever. Okay. Aldo Estrada made a super chat and didn't say anything. Daryl, but thank you so much. I appreciate it. Daryl Duckworth said, Kafirs unite. Do indeed. I appreciate it. Stop Scamming Man said, women completely covered cause babies to be born with rickets due to vitamin D deficiency in the UK for the first time in many years. I cannot comment on this. I'm not an expert on the matter. We'll have to ask Zakir Naik about this issue. But thank you so much for the super chat. Bit9K said, happy Monday. Thank you so much. Happy Monday to you too. Ekidus Quidita said, takedowns and strikes. Sounds like MMA. Yes, absolutely. Just something that's...
I'm going to steal that.
Yes, you should. Drunk Shovel made a super chat and said, "Hey, yo, Dr. Dawood. You actually
what's up?
You actually have a philosophy PhD, right?
Yeah,
You do, so you do have a philosophy PhD.
I have a PhD and 2
You
master's
never talk
degrees in
about it.
philosophy.
How can you never talk about it? If you were a Muslim apologist, you would have doctor or PhD like larger than your own name everywhere written. Why are
Yeah.
you not using this title?
I don't know. Maybe I should.
You should. You should. Maybe then people would take you actually seriously. Right now they think you're just some guy. Like you're just some guy like me. You should put that thing out there. You know. Chris Dunbar said, "I see AP has accepted his rightful place and David's virgin bride." Rachel Bonds made a super chat. Thank you so much. Stop Scamming Man said, Ibn Majah 9, the chapters on marriage, chapter 62. A woman who harms her husband. When a woman harms her husband, his future Huri wives will call on Allah to destroy her and gloat that she will be only with him temporarily. I believe I read that. I'm not sure what the degree of that text is, but yes, I remember reading that as well. Thank you so much for that addition. Rimon Salam said, David Wood, come to Islam. You can play on the GameCube. Dude, what is it with the GameCube? The Noon said, thank you so much. Ninja Daddy, can you give us a dawah and ask Allah to continue misguiding us? Jazakallah khair. Oh Allah, please keep misguiding us. Luxurism made a super chat and said, I heard a group of Muslims will pay you to become... Oh, I read this already earlier because it was so good. I read this already too. Stop Scamming Man said, perhaps the Chinese oracle bones contain purported... I cannot pronounce... I cannot speak English. I'm an immigrant. Purported revelations that have not changed in thousands of years. Miracle or nothing of the sort. It's probably a miracle if you're saying it. Shiva Player made a super chat and said, greetings from an Orthodox Christian to you too. Thank you so much. I appreciate it very much. Although I find it outrageous that a Christian is just visiting this channel and just talking to me, an atheist, peacefully without attacking me and threatening me with humiliation and all that. But I appreciate it. Thank you. Marky Mark made a super chat and said, why is he wearing a beekeeper suit? This is not a beekeeper suit. This is...
Yeah, it was one thing to say ninja, but beekeeper, that's just offensive.
That's just racist. It's racist. You're racising this conversation. Stop Scamming Man said, explain this miracle. Is this a is this a reference to that Quran verse, to that Quran chapter and story, which is about
eagle, Kaaba, elephant.
Is this about birds coming and protecting the Kaaba from the army of elephants by throwing stones on them and completely shattering that army?
Is that what that is? That's what it looks like.
Boy, that actually, I was reading about that something yesterday, and how there are no historical records of such a campaign or of anything like that, and that it's extremely unlikely, especially with the elephants in Arabia for such a long time. But I need more knowledge on that matter to get into that more deeply.
Yeah, those things need lots of water and stuff.
Yeah. Dumb elephants. Akhenaton 1981 said, new app Clubhouse has a lot of Muslims making da'wah. It's like Speaker's Park in London. Christians need help defending the faith and refuting Islam. Yeah, I heard that there's a lot of stuff going on Clubhouse. I myself have not really looked into it because it looked like there's just a bunch of people with faces.
That's an app?
And audio. Yeah, that's an app that recently came out where just the weird people go and talk to each other with pictures and all that. It doesn't seem very appealing to me. I would rather look at cat videos on Instagram and food on TikTok. So I haven't checked it out so far, but I might have a look sometime. Stefan Milievich made a super chat and said, hey guys, greetings to you as always. AP, do you have a plan of interviewing ex-Muslim called Sheriff Gabir or Jabir? I don't think he's reachable at all, if that is actually a word. Is it a word, reachable? If it's not, then I just made it one.
Mhm.
Also, do anyone know his situation today? I don't know. He just comes out every now and then and says, "Hey, I'm okay. Here's a new video." I don't know how he's doing. I hope he's fine. He's in Egypt, right? Rum Runner made a super chat and said, "The stupid Bible says the sun stood still in Joshua 10:13. How is that different from the Arab Mein Kampf, the Quran, saying the sun sets in mud?" Huh. David, is that something you want to comment on?
Well, I mean, in the Bible, it's said to be a miracle. In the Quran, the sun setting in a muddy pool is not something miraculous where God miraculously intervenes to do something. Um, so you can say you don't believe the Bible, or you can say it's still a stupid claim, but it's not the same sort of thing. The Quran is just laying down factual information, supposedly, about where the sun goes when it sets. Right? This is not saying Allah miraculously one day made the sun go down. If the claim were that it were miraculous, then you might say that it's unbelievable. But could God make the sun go down in a muddy pool? Well, yeah, if God wanted, God could shrink down the sun, make it so that it doesn't burn up the world, make it go down into a muddy pool, and make it come up somewhere else. God could do that. So yeah, different kinds of claims there. So whether you're talking about the Bible or the Quran, you got to keep in mind claims that are saying that God did something miraculous. In which case, it's, did God really do that? Did God really do that? And then just claims about how the world works.
Yeah.
And the Quran is just saying how the world works.
Yeah.
And even there, I've said before, if you're talking about like, and God said the sun set or something like that, if the passage is using normal language, I don't think you need to jump on the idea, in the Quran and say, oh, Allah got this, scientific claim wrong. We don't apply that standard to ourselves. When someone says, "Hey, let's go watch the sunset," you don't say, "Oh, you idiot! You don't know science," right? We understand what we're talking about, right? Or when I say, "I love you with all my heart," no one today says, "Oh, you idiot! It's the brain, not the heart. The heart just pumped blood. Oh, you dummy!" Right?
I actually say that.
So we know what we're talking about. But so two things. One, there are times when the Quran really sounds like it's making a claim about something scientific, right? Like it really sounds there like it's saying, this is what happened when Dhul Qarnayn traveled someplace. He found the sun setting in a pool and so on. And if it's not saying that, please tell me what it's actually saying. The explanations that Muslims give are completely wrong. And the other thing is, well, actually, that would be the main thing. What was I saying? I'm sorry, I'm focused on what the next fold is. Focused on what the next fold is. So what were we talking about? Scientific miracles. I was saying that, so what is the Quran actually saying? And then I don't remember. I had a second point, but that was it. This will be done very soon.
Well, in all honesty, if you ask me, I mean, I don't believe in the truth claims of the Bible. I wouldn't believe in this narrative. But I have to be very honest. I think these are two. This is equating the matter to something that is not equal. This would rather be like equating it to the moon being split in two, for example, which Islam, touts as a miracle, and we can dismiss that miracle simply by saying, "Hey, if it did happen, I cannot, for example, say, hey, if the moon had been split in two, then we would see a crack on it or anything like that." No, I don't think it's reasonable to accept that if Allah exists and if He can miraculously split the moon in two, then He can also make it come together without leaving any mark to it, right? The reason why I dismiss the moon splitting miracle is that it is simply completely inconceivable, unreasonable to think that the moon was split in the 7th century and nobody in the world saw it. It's ridiculous to believe that. But that would be the equivalent of that. It wouldn't be the same as saying as equating it to the Quran's claim that Dhul Qarnayn saw it setting in a muddy spring, in my opinion. But then again, who am I? Who am I? Yeah. Okay, let's go on.
Hang on. Are you ready for this?
Yeah, go.
All right. I'm going to finish now. Oops. What?
It looks fantastic. I can tell.
Oh no, I gotta fix it. I did a wrong fold talking to you.
Okay, I'll go on with these super chats. Okay, Stop Scamming Man said, over years, scientists like Alfred Kroner and William Hay were interviewed by apologists and snippets put out to make it seem they endorse Quran science. The YouTube channel This Is the Truth Uncut shows them spilling the beans. Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
I'm not aware of that. I have to check that out sometime. I don't know. I have to. You know what's very funny? I recently had this. I recently had this discussion with this Assyriologist and Bible scholar, Joshua Bowen. I don't know if you've seen it, but you know he studied for he studied Old Testament. He made a very long, a very huge master's degree, theological master's degree in Old Testament studies, studied ancient Near East, and then went on to make a PhD in Assyriology and so much more. Before that, he studied religion and all that. So I sat down with him. I showed him the whole discussions that I had about the Kaaba with these Muslims.
Mhm.
They claim that the valley of Bukhari in the Bible is Mecca, and how the desert of Paran refers to Mecca, and how all that points at the Kaaba and all that. I sent him these claims and said, "Hey, what do you think about this? Would you be willing to have a discussion with me about this to review these claims?" And he said, "Oh yeah, absolutely. I think."
Did he convert to Islam?
He took his Shahada live here on this channel. No, I did have the discussion with him, and he very clearly said it's not reasonable to believe that Abraham ever went down there. We have Abraham's stories according to the Bible very clearly laid out in Genesis. If the Kaaba was mentioned, it would be mentioned right there. The Valley of Bacar clearly doesn't refer to Mecca. It is it's the whole psalm is explicitly very clearly about Jerusalem and this and that. And the thing is, I made that video in such a way, I used like 4 files for that video, because I recorded him separately, me separately, and our audio separately in separate files. Eventually I put that together and made it in such a way that it is easily watchable and made it shorter, like we removed repetitions and this and that. Now in the end, the interview, as I published it, completely destroys their whole ridiculous claims and arguments. And they realize that. But what they do now is say, oh, AP is hiding something. This is not the actual interview. He actually...
Oh, because you cut it down?
Yeah, he cut out Dr. Joshua Bowen's responses in such a way that it fits his agenda. Maybe he didn't even ask those questions. Maybe he pre-recorded. Maybe he re-recorded his own questions and then pasted them into before the answers of Dr. Joshua Bowen to make it look like he agrees with him. Don't trust him. This is what they did to that. Like it's so ridiculous.
All right, are you ready?
Yes.
I had to make 2 of these. I actually did a messed up wrong fold when I was talking to you.
Oh yeah.
You get 2 of these, then you stick them together, and ta-da! It's the Kaaba.
Wow.
It's a Kaaba made out of the Quran. Show me
Wow.
anything more miraculous than a Kaaba made out of the Quran.
This is it. I'm converting to Islam. See, this is another miracle that you can actually make the Kaaba from Quran pages.
Check it out. We are the Borg. Hey, do you even know what I'm talking about?
Of course I know what I'm talking about. I was alive.
I don't remember the words. Your biological and technological distinctiveness will be added to our own. Resistance is futile.
Yeah, that's the only line I remember.
Or solve the puzzle, Kirsty. Time to play. You know what that's from?
No, I have no idea what that is from.
There's
What
a
is
movie
that?
I watched when I was a kid called Hellraiser. It's a horror movie. And there's some puzzle box.
Oh, of course I did watch. I actually watched it just recently. I was going through some stupid old movies, and I actually
someone's saying kiss it. You gotta kiss the black stone there.
Kiss it, favorite. That's what. Yeah. Oh yeah, the Black Stone. Yeah.
The black stone. Now I'm guaranteed paradise.
That's beautiful. You should keep that right there behind you on a shelf.
I'll probably give this away.
You should probably sell it or something. You should auction it on eBay. I heard that's a very good. That works very well. sell such things on eBay.
It's super.
Yeah.
Look, watch. Some Muslim be, Alhamdulillah, it's a miraculous verse right here that says something about Allah. This is the proof that David Wood has been exposed by Allah.
I promise you, Ali Dawa will make a video about this in which he will mark some spot there and will say,
yeah, I know.
Look, David Wood.
You see? Ah, this is a clear refutation.
David Wood tried to make fun of the Quran, but you see what happened. Allah made fun of him. Oh boy. That's awesome. It's very well. Do you do this in your free time, David? Do you just do origami in your free time? Is this that way you do?
Oh no, I was pretty good at it. I was in art class in 10th grade, and I had to spend an entire year in art class, which I did not want to paint or do anything else. And then one day I was just looking at something and I figured out how to make it by origami, and my teacher was all, "Oh, that's so amazing! You should do more of that." And so I kept doing it, and I found out that as long as I kept folding up paper throughout the year, my teacher didn't make me do anything else. So all the rest of the class would be again doing paintings and sculpting and all that crap. And my teacher just let me keep making various things out of paper. So anyway, I became halfway decent at origami that year. But but some people just kind of get it. They can say, okay, once you get the basic folds and stuff and the various things you can make, oh, okay, well, now I know how to make that. Well, it's only a little bit different to make this over here and so on. And so like this is just a block. But notice if you leave this out, and put it back together, you get these extra flaps here, but this has places where you can put them. So you can actually make a bunch of these and connect them like Legos. So you could build a castle out of these. I could build a giant Kaaba out of these individual blocks.
Yeah.
Or anything. So
yeah. You have just admitted that you just did stuff like origami when you were in school. So this just clearly proves. Wait, did you just say school? I didn't listen to that part. But this just proves that nobody should trust you with your refutations of the Quran, because you just did things like origami, and this just proves that, whatever. I don't know. Probably some Muslim apologists will cut this out and use this against you.
What's cool is I remember stuff I made that I could convert for modern purposes. Like I made a Pegasus once. Making a Pegasus is not very different from making, Muhammad's flying donkey. Be very similar. So I can make cool stuff like that.
You should do that. That's amazing. I really appreciate this. I think this.
Yeah, you got some Quranigami live, dude.
Yeah, man. This is like this stream has become so fruitful and miraculous, and we have produced so much here. It's like, I don't know, this is the best thing on YouTube, I think. YouTube should definitely promote this more instead of promoting Ninja Mommy, for example. Like, I am better than Ninja Mommy. Look at this. Compare me to Ninja Mommy.
What color burqa does she wear?
I don't know. I think I saw this too. You can see my hair a little bit here, but that's, I don't know, whatever. I hope Allah forgives me. Let's go back to the super chats now that we had to endure the whole Quran Kaaba thing. Claudius made a super chat and said, so happy to hear David again. Oops. Yeah. Adam Aory said, about time you display some modesty, AP. I know.
Seriously.
Right? Seriously. Rum Runner said, thank you so much, by the way. Rum Runner said, Led Zeppelin is more beautiful than the Quran. Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Oh, and the song is called Stairway to Heaven. And it's beautiful, and millions of people have memorized the lyrics. So this proves that Led Zeppelin is the inspired classic rock band of God.
Absolutely true. That's again another miracle. We never run out of miracles. It's beautiful. Luxorism made a super chat here, exactly giving us an example of this, and said, "This is proof that David Wood has been deceived by Allah. Look, he mocks Allah, but Allah made a miracle using him." See, because they deceive, but Allah is the best of deceivers. That's what it says.
Best at it.
He's the best. He's the best. There's no one better than him.
And then his da'is do their best to be like him.
Yeah, yeah. Are you trying to say that Muslim apologists are trying to deceive us? If that's what you're implying, then that's very offensive. Timothy Dane made a super chat. Oh, wait. Timothy Dane made a super chat here and didn't say anything, but thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Hey.
What?
Chief Priest there called you Ninja Daddy. But you might want to start a channel called Ninja Daddy. That would be awesome.
That would be nice. Yeah. Ninja Daddy. That's good. I like it. Timothy Dane made another super chat and said, check out free Islamic books by Arnab Mubashir. Hundreds of direct translations of Arabic sources on sex, women, and jihad. Yeah, these are very important topics. I need to look into that. Hakitas Quidditas made a super chat and said, how can the camels get sick when they had an unending natural supply of Muhammad's cure-all camel urine? Oh, yeah, that's a good point. But I guess they can't cure themselves with the with the camel urine. They also have to drink milk. They have to drink their own milk and their own urine to get better. And obviously they can't do that unless you help them do that. So there's that. Adam Uri made a super chat and said, reading the Quran felt like reading the lyrics out to the song Friday by Rebecca Black. What is that song?
Friday, gotta get down on Friday, something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, we've talked about this many times before. The Quran is the absolute worst book I've ever read in my life. And what I point out is, I'm not saying that because I reject it and disagree with it, right? There are things in the Quran that I agree with. Mm-hmm. And there are tons of books on these shelves. You can't find many books on my shelf back here where I agree with everything. I have multiple copies here of Plato's Republic. I disagree with probably 90% of what's in Plato's Republic. Still an amazing book that everyone should read. Hume's dialogues back there. I disagree with a ton of stuff in the David Hume's dialogues concerning natural religion.
How dare you?
Phenomenally written book, brilliantly written book. A book can be great and awesome even if you disagree with it. The Quran, I would literally rather read a phone book than read the Quran. It's so horrible. It's so awful. And Muslim apologists run around saying, oh, it's so great, it's so wonderful, it's so miraculous, and their people believe it. Keep in mind, the lying Muslim apologists who talk about the Quran being so amazingly written and so on, they're the same people who say it's been perfectly preserved. They're the same people who lie about all these scientific miracles. In other words, the people who are conditioning Muslims to believe this are the same people who lie about everything else. You know what I mean? It's yeah. You have apologists who are the biggest bunch of liars the world has ever seen, conditioning people on what to believe. Guys, if you want to believe the Quran is amazing and beautiful, conclude that yourself. But what I find is they just it's a kind of delusion. They all work themselves up into a frenzy where you show how great a Muslim you are by believing everything that your apologists say, even if it's a lie.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, one thing that needs to be said is that the Quran is the best book ever in human history, and experts agree on this as well. If you just Google best books of all time, you will find that on every list of best books of all time, you will find that the Quran is on number one. And if you don't find it, then it was probably written by some Islamophobic, ignorant idiots. So that's that. I want to say here.
Oh, hey. Well, yeah. I wanted to, along those same lines, because you made a video about this, where Muslims all go to that book, the 100 most important people in history or something like that.
Yeah, most influential.
And then the dude put Muhammad number one. And it's funny that the guy wasn't a historian. He's a scientist. He's some sort of physicist or something like that. He explained why he put Muhammad number one, because he breaks things up into categories on how influential you are in a certain category. And he said Muhammad was massively influential in both politics and in religion. And so he's massively influential in two separate areas. So he's giving him the number one spot. Whereas if you look at Ahmed Deedat and so on and how they use this, they'll say, so here you have this man admitting that Muhammad was the greatest man who ever lived. Doesn't say greatest. He says most influential, right? And if you look down on the list, he's got Hitler on there. He's got Stalin. It's basically how much how much impact you had on the world.
Yeah.
So you pointed out in your video that the dude's actually a white nationalist, right? The guy who wrote this, he's a racist who believes that the world needs to be broken up by race. I dug a little bit deeper, and I found one of his books on his white nationalist views. He does not have a high opinion of Muhammad, of Islam, of the Quran, or of Arabs. He says some really nasty stuff. In fact, this is a paradigm example of someone that most people would say, do not ever listen to this dude. But you take a Muslim apologist like Ahmed Deedat, and suddenly this guy is one of the greatest historians in the world, and he has claimed that Muhammad is the greatest man in history. One, dude's not a historian. Two, you would not like what this guy says, because he believes you can be completely evil and a bane to humanity, and still be massively influential.
Yeah.
And so, but in the hands of a Muslim apologist, this guy becomes a great historian who confirmed that Muhammad is the greatest man who ever lived. And it's a white supremacist who despises Arabs, thought Muhammad was completely evil and not a historian at all. And somehow Muslims, he said something positive about Muhammad, let's spin this. But this just goes back to what we're talking about. Dawah is deception. It's always deception. And to this day, Muslims will quote that to me. How did this man end up as the greatest man in history, as even confirmed by Western historians? All because of this one dude. Weird stuff, man.
I mean, I even made a video in which I basically addressed the whole topic and clearly show how the argument is completely ridiculous, because the list is not actually about greatest men, which would be a very strange list to make. It is about influence. It doesn't say anything good about him. It uses strange logic to put Muhammad before Paul and Jesus, because it separates their influence in two, which is, in my opinion, a strange thing to do. And yeah, as you said, the list includes people that Muslims would definitely not want to look up to, at least not publicly, including people who have who massacred Muslims and brought the Islamic Empire to its knees. But even on that video where I address this whole issue and basically refute this thing, you still have people in the comment section like, now you're just denying the truth. Now you're just doing this and that. And I don't know, what are you gonna explain? What are you gonna tell them? Yep. By the way, one person, Amina Sardar, I just want to make a quick shout out to Amina Sardar. I think she has her own channel. I saw that. I would actually like to invite her sometime. She said that Apostate Prophet has been influential in her leaving Islam. I don't know who Apostate Prophet is, but I really appreciate her saying that. So thank you so much.
All we have here is the Apostate Ninja Daddy.
Yeah, Apostate Ninja Daddy Mommy. That's what I am. So, but I really appreciate it. Amina, thank you so much. Go ahead. What did you want to say, David?
No, nothing. I forgot.
Oh, good.
Oh, wait. Oh, because you said that even after you completely refute the argument, you have people still saying you're rejecting it, right? Like, this is a guy that the vast majority of people would not listen to in the world today. He wants to break up the entire world by races and IQ averages and so on, and has nothing but contempt for Arab people, and has nothing good to say, as you pointed out, has nothing good to say about Muhammad. Did not say that Muhammad was great, said Muhammad is massively influential. I wouldn't disagree. Most influential, I don't think I'd grant that, but massively influential. But as the guy pointed out, Stalin, massively influential. Chairman Mao, massively influential. What does this have to do with these guys being good?
Hitler, or Genghis Khan?
Hitler, has nothing to do. It's just about how much impact these guys have had on the world. And again, not an expert in any sort of field. If you think he's, I mean, what's he an expert in? Well, science, but then he got into racist stuff. So, but even then, you could point all that out, and they'll still just mindlessly go with D. Oh, you're just rejecting the truth. This reminds me of when I made a video about the supposed Big Bang in the Quran, and I go through. Wait a minute, what it's actually saying is that the Earth is separated from the universe, and after Allah fashions the Earth, then later on He makes the stars and galaxies and so on. This certainly is not confirmed by modern science. The response from Muslims in the comments were things like, "But it said that there's some sort of Big Bang of smoke, so you're admitting that it's correct." And it's like, what are you talking about? It's totally wrong. Everything. My goodness. Yeah, but that's over and over and over again, right?
Yeah, excuse me, but the whole narrative in the Quran about separating the heavens and the earth and the water and all that is actually, to me, it's very clear that this is an adoption from old mythological ideas about how the world came into existence, from ideas that existed in times of the Sumerians, which they had written down, which we can still track and find. I mean, this is and other things imported from the Bible in a completely messed up and corrupted ways.
Yeah, and again, I wouldn't really care, because I can imagine a scenario like, imagine there's some tribe in the woods, and you go and you're a, let's say, a Muslim preacher, and you're trying to go, and you go out to this tribe in the woods, and they have this mythology about the earth growing out of a tree or something like that, right? And it's just, it magically grows out of a tree. The earth grows out of the tree. And suppose the preacher says, no, Allah is the one who makes the earth grow out of the tree. In other words, I don't care that you guys have a myth. I just want you to understand that God is the one who's doing that. I wouldn't have a terrible problem with that if people were saying that's what's going on in the Quran. Allah is taking these myths and just making sure people understand that Allah is doing them. I would reject Islam for other reasons, but I wouldn't be jumping all over the scientific claims if the claim was what that. And there are Muslims who have that position, but they'll claim that the Quran is scientifically perfect and miraculous, and that it contains all these scientific miracles, when if you just read them, it's clearly wrong. So you got to make up your minds here. But yeah, to say Big Bang, and then to completely distort the passage. That's why I say it's just deception, right? It's sheer deception. If you've read that passage, if you're a Muslim apologist and you've read these passages about Allah separating the earth from the heavens, and then making the stars later, and then you claim that this is talking about the Big Bang, when that is no one's definition of the Big Bang. And then you go on later to say that Allah sent down iron, and this means that Allah formed iron in stars billions of years before the earth was created. And the Quran says that the earth, which contains iron, was already here before Allah created the star. You're just a liar, right? You're just trying to deceive people. And so I can't, but they almost all of their apologists do this. And so I can only, that's why I say, man, dawah is deception. It's just a method of deceiving people.
Yeah. You're just being Islamophobic. You're just such an Islamophobe. So Hakitas Quidditas made a super chat and said, how can the... Oh, I read that. Wait. What? Oh, Adam Uri. How am I supposed to read this?
This is Rebecca Black, man. You've already read this, man.
Oh, I read this. Okay.
Scrolling the wrong
Stefan
direction.
Miljevic said, AP, you are a lovely hijab lady. You are totally suitable for giving birth to many children and in the same time being humble about it. Yes, yes. John H. said, in hopes that AP's debate next week won't be cancelled and I lose my bet. Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention this. I will actually have a debate next week on October 9th with Muslim scholar Dr. Abdul Majid. And we will debate on the topic, is Islam true? He was kind enough to come and offer this debate to me. And I said, hey, yes, of course, I'm ready. So we organized the debate on Modern Day Debate, and it will happen this Saturday, right? And
I'm assuming all Muslim apologists are happy about this, to have a debate where you'll get schooled.
Yeah, I will be destroyed completely, and I'm happy. I'm proud of that. Yeah, it's
Muslim
good.
apologists are cheering for this guy, right?
Yeah, absolutely,
Cool,
absolutely.
cool.
I expect everybody there to see the humiliation of myself. Yeah, Useless Gaming made a super chat and said, "We need GTA 6 now." Okay, I will talk to them. Thank you so much. Cedric said, David Wood is wrong. We can't understand it because it is a metaphysical matter, owned, destroyed. Absolutely, I agree. Yeah. Eustace Gaming said, GTA 6 is true. I can prove it. Okay, that's good. That's nice. Daryl Duckworth said, and we're proud of that. Thank you so much. Useless Gaming said, GTA 6 is coming. Oh, good. That's good. That's good to know. I didn't even have to talk to them. Greg Conowitz made a super chat and said, David Wood got demolished. Alhamdulillah. Yes, he did. You have all witnessed how I destroyed him. Ligar System said, look, her skin is greener than her clothes. What? Is that from a hadith about?
Yeah, that's from
yeah.
That's from Aisha saying that a woman was beaten until her skin turned green. Her skin was greener than the green dress she had on.
Yeah, that's the same narrations that also say that the women of this ummah, or the women in Medina,
she has not seen any woman suffering as much as the believing women.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, thank you for helping me out with that. Stefan Miljevic said, David Wood now becomes Dawood. You are destroyed. Send me your location. You are destroyed. I will wrestle you like Khabib. Seriously, David, I'm genuinely curious. When you got all of these these comments and these messages and mentions of people telling you stuff like, send me location, send location, you've been destroyed, Habib, this and that, what did that make you feel?
Yeah. Well, nothing. If it's especially nasty, I'm more impressed with people who come up with something brilliant. Like I'll occasionally get a message from someone where they will hit everything, right? Like wife, kids, Nabil, Jesus, the Bible. They'll just go after everything in one comment. And those are the one. But even then, it's not like I don't get mad. It's more like have more respect for really, really thorough attempt to burn me. But it's been the same. It's been the same since I started. There's actually a term in psychology for it. There's a term in psychology, goes back to, I think Anna Freud was the one who, Anna Freud, so that's Sigmund Freud's daughter, but she talked about various methods that people have of dealing with stuff. And gosh, I can't think of it. Any other time I would know this term.
What are we talking about? I didn't pay attention. I probably know this.
There's one where you redirect. If you're going to behave in some inappropriate way, you sort of redirect the energy into some other way of behaving, right?
Positive or negative?
You redirect unacceptable behavior into an acceptable form of behavior. There's a psychological term for it.
That's one of the defense mechanisms. It's the one that I don't remember what. Somebody will probably say it here.
And so, but that whenever someone is aggressive or insulting me, it's like it becomes a kind of energy that I redirect towards wrecking their profit. You know what I mean? Like I've said before, if you just left me to myself, I would probably make a quarter of my videos on philosophy, probably make a quarter of my videos on like Christian apologetics topics, probably a quarter of my videos on Islamic topics, responding to Muslim arguments and things like that, and maybe a quarter on other stuff, including like free speech and so on. But the comments I get from followers of Muhammad are so nasty and sublimation. So nasty and so abusive that it's like I get all this energy to go after their position. And so that's why, and then they complain, why do you make so many videos about Muhammad? Whoa, why can't you do anything else? Like, guys, your community does this, right? It's like, it's the same thing with like terrorism. It's like, why are all these people criticizing us? Well, it might be all the terrorist attacks and the abuse of women and so on. You're ticking lots of people up. And then when they see people going after Islam, it's because, it's the truth. No, it's because of all this messed up stuff you guys do.
No, it's because it's the truth. It's because it's the truth. Uh, yeah, that's what it is. That's why we are
Right?
all.
Like, I'll
That's
give you
what
an
they say.
example.
We all come
I'll give you an
together in the
example.
Pakistan because it's true.
Give you an example. The Karanagami right here. I wasn't going
Yeah.
to do I wasn't going to do a Karanagami. I just saw that Lars Vilk died, and I saw a bunch of comments from Muslims. Rust in hell. Ha ha. This is the curse of Allah. Blah 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 blah. And
The guy
I
died
don't.
in a traffic accident.
I
That was
don't.
the curse of-
I don't complain about it. I don't throw a tantrum about it. But I just get this. Hey, I think I'll fold up the Quran now.
Yeah.
Nice and calm. Totally calm. What?
This is so stupid. I mean, the guy did something. The guy drew a cartoon in which he
Yeah,
depicted
back in
Muhammad
2007.
as an animal, and now he died in a traffic accident. And Muslims are like, "Whoa!" see, this is what happened
2007.
to you.
The guy's 75 years old. He's 75 years old.
Oh,
So you're talking 14 years later, the guy dies, 75 years old. Alhamdulillah, you see, Allah destroyed him. And then right after I saw that, I got a warning from a Muslim. David, you see, you will have a very difficult life if you continue on this path against Muhammad. And I'm just thinking, if you're saying, oh, David, you've got a hard life. Look, you've got disabled kids. This is clearly the curse of Allah. My goodness, have you seen the life of Muhammad? Again, dad died before he was born. Mom dies when he's 6. Foster family abandoned him. They don't want anything to do with him. And then it just keeps getting worse from there. Look at how Muhammad's kids died, man. It's not pretty.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
most of his kids died before he did.
Absolutely.
So if you're just going to say, man, oh, look at that. I mean, gosh, put it this way. If the stuff that happened to Muhammad and his kids happened to me, you would say this is clearly the curse of Allah. But Muhammad, if it's Muhammad, oh, nope, it's clear. Allah had all these other reasons for doing this to Muhammad.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Absolutely. Sam Shamoon is here in the comment section. He says, these two boring losers are still on. And I don't know. He just says it's because nobody watches his channel. And I feel sad for you, Sam. But I appreciate you leaving this comment here. Okay. Wait here. Let's get back to the super chats. So Greg Conowitz said, so women are akin to lollipops. Pathetic analogy. I think it's brilliant. I think it completely shows why the hijab is necessary. I would never pick up an unwrapped lollipop that has a lot of flies on it. I would rather pick up a wrapped one that is protected from flies. Hekitas Creditas said, David, make a holy Quran where Zach the serpent jumps out of the hole when you open it. What is that in reference to? What is Zach the serpent? I have no idea what that is.
I had my bunkmate from prison on with me a while back, maybe 2 months ago or something like that. He was visiting. I said, hey, let's go live and just talk about prison stories. So we talked about a bunch of prison stories. And I talked about the time I was in charge of the Christian bulletin board, which was right beside the chow line where we all go and eat. And I made a character called Zach the Serpent. He's a big snakehead. And I had the snake saying, Jesus was just a prophet. Trust me, right? So I made a big serpent saying that. And then the Muslim group there complained to the administration that I was offending them. And it was obvious to everyone, to anyone who's been in prison, you don't complain to the administration about something another inmate is doing. So then I put up a sign basically calling them all snitches. And yeah. So anyway, but I pointed out, I still have my box of prison stuff somewhere around here, right? Like in other words, I went home and I have a box of prison stuff. So I probably have Zach the Serpent somewhere.
Yeah.
In my stuff. And so, yeah, he's talking about that.
Yeah. Some people are still saying stuff like Ninja Mommy. By the way, for all those who haven't realized it till now, I'm revealing it to you right now. This is actually me, AP. See, it's actually me.
Whoa, who have I been on with all this time?
Yeah. So it's actually me.
On with the famous Muslim ninja daddy.
Yeah. And the only reason I'm doing this is it's not to cause offense. It's not to mock or do anything like that. I wouldn't do that. The only reason I'm doing this is to simply put on the the hijab, the niqab, for once, just to see what it is like to spend 2 hours here together with everybody, so that everybody can experience this and have some empathy and all
And,
that. And so far, I don't
notice
like
you
it.
have the World Hijab Day, and everyone wear
Yeah,
a
yeah,
hijab day
yeah,
and stuff like
yeah.
that. And it's like there are Muslims who are obsessed with people trying this on and stuff like that. And so, but now that you're doing it, people will just be mad. How dare
Yeah,
you?
yeah. I'm just doing it for a good purpose. I have no idea what people
Yeah,
would be angry about.
empathy.
Absolutely love. Luxurism said this is proof that David Wood has been deceived by Allah. We read that already, but thank you so much. I appreciate it. But
Yeah, I
Boyden
told you
said
I had to go, and so you read every comment over like 9 times.
okay, but but Boyden said chapter 3 verse 54 of the Quran says that Allah is the best of all deceivers. So how do Muslims know if Allah is lying to them or not?
One of the most important problems with Islam, by the way. I mean, once you have an omnipotent deceiver who tricks you, and according to Surah 8 of the Quran, Allah even tricks Muslims, right? He even deceives Muslims. And notice the Surah 4, verse 157. Why do people believe that Jesus died? Because Allah tricked everyone. And so once you have an omnipotent trickster in your theology who will trick and deceive even his prophets, keep in mind, according to Surah 8, Allah even deceived Muhammad by giving him a dream that the Meccans there wouldn't be many Meccans showing up. This deceived Muhammad into thinking that Allah had revealed to him that there weren't going to be many Meccans showing up. So Muhammad told his followers, don't worry, guys, there aren't going to be a lot of Meccans showing up. And then they were outnumbered by the Meccans 3-1, but they won. And then so Allah, I had to trick you in order to get you to go out because I didn't want you to get scared.
Well, it was for their own good. So
yeah, so this is Allah will deceive he will even deceive his followers through his prophets. And once you have an omnipotent deceiver who will deceive you even through his prophets, how in the world do you know what to believe? I mean, just imagine, why did Allah trick and deceive people into believing that Jesus died on the cross, into believing that they had achieved victory over Jesus like that? I mean, all you can say as a Muslim, well, maybe Allah didn't like the Jews, and so he tricked and deceived them. Well, I mean, if you want to say that, how do you know Allah didn't, he had a problem with Arabs who rejected Christianity and Judaism, so he punished them by giving them a false prophet? He's a deceiver. He's the best of deceivers. So how do you know? Matter of fact, this was actually a problem in early Islam. Abu Bakr said, if I had 1 foot in paradise, I would still fear Allah's deception. In other words, and Abu Bakr was one of the few people who had been guaranteed paradise by Muhammad. So Abu Bakr is guaranteed paradise by Muhammad. And yet Abu Bakr would still say, if I had 1 foot in paradise, I would still be fearing Allah's deception. What do you mean? You've been guaranteed paradise from Muhammad. It's like, yeah, but I understand I'm dealing with an omnipotent deceiver here. And so until I'm actually there completely, I'm still going to be wondering that my God is just tricking me. He's just tricking me even through his prophet. That's some scary stuff, man. Muslims today, they know nothing about this because
Allah is tough.
Their leaders don't tell them.
You don't get it. Allah is tough. You got to be scared of him. Adam Yuri made a super chat and said, early Islam was more inclusive. Allah even allowed Satan to write some verses.
Very, very inclusive.
Mike Kick 922 said, Mike Q922 said, good to see AP and David Wood. Question, was Muhammad illiterate his whole life? How much of the Old Testament and New Testament did he actually know? If you ask me, my expert opinion, just kidding, he didn't actually know anything from looking at them. He just heard stories about them from certain people that helped him all the time, which is how he got stories into the Quran. We don't actually know how the Quran really came into existence, how the revelations came into existence. We have to trust a whole line of narrations about how Muhammad would receive revelations and reveal them to his people and all that. We also have, according to different reports, people who helped him, and he was accused of having a helper that he goes to and asks for help, and people accused him of simply taking knowledge from that guy who makes up the Quran verses on the spot for Muhammad, which he then recites to his companions, which they then write down. So there was a lot of stuff going on. We don't really know the background of it, but we don't actually know if he was literate or not. We don't know.
And the Muslim sources are basically inconsistent.
Yeah,
There are all kinds of things saying that Muhammad was illiterate, but there are passages that sound very different, like he was, signing things and so on. So you had that. As far as his knowledge of Old Testament or New Testament, he basically had very little clue what he's talking about.
yeah,
The information that he got shows that he couldn't tell the difference between like the Old Testament and the Talmud.
yeah, yeah.
And so he's just hearing things. So he'll hear Jews talking about stories, and some of them are from the Torah, and some of them are from the Talmud. And he couldn't tell the difference. He would just present them both in the Quran as the word of God. So he couldn't tell the difference.
He didn't know what the New Testament is. He didn't know what
Yeah.
the gospel is. He just presented the gospel as this book that was revealed to Jesus, which clearly shows that he didn't have any clue of what the gospels actually say. I mean,
And the stories that he thought of as the gospel were from other later heretical sources. So he clearly so just like with the Talmud, he couldn't tell the difference between the actual first century New Testament texts and later stories that were fabrications. And so this is a guy who's clearly hearing stories, passing them off as revelations, and he doesn't know the difference.
Yeah. Sorry.
And so it's one thing to say Muhammad. It's one thing to say an illiterate 7th century Arabian caravan robber couldn't tell the difference between, authentic revelations and later forgeries. It's very strange to say that your God couldn't tell the difference, and your God passes them off as the same thing, because that's what you have to say.
Yeah. Sorry, my ankles were just showing. I had to cover.
Yeah, cover those things up.
No, I just got a cat, actually. We just got a cat, and the cat was trying to climb up on me. And
because you're unwrapped.
Yeah.
The cat thinks you're a big piece of meat.
Yeah. I'm a prostitute, basically, because look, my neck is showing here. So I just wanted to say something about this, but then the cat completely disturbed my line of thought. But yeah, whatever. We'll get back to that. We can work a lot on that stuff. Yeah, let's get back here. Where are all the super chats? Okay, let's keep it short. Let's fly through the super chats. We want to keep the stream under an hour. Okay. Wait, let me get rid of my cat here.
Under an hour, you're going over 2 hours now. We'll discuss the topic for an hour and then 2.5 hours of comments.
Okay, David, you're talking too much right now. Say Miles made a super sticker. Thank you so much. So it says number 1. Thank you. I appreciate it. Raya Alpha made a super sticker. Thank you so much. Siraj Kamal said, Apostate Prophet David Wood, you guys are great. Apostate Prophet, I want to speak to David Wood today. Will you take live calls later? Maybe we can do that at some different time. What do you think about doing live calls?
Yeah, we can do live calls sometime.
Yeah, we could do that. Not today. Today is way too late, but we could do that some other time. Apollo's Christian Apologetic something said, don't sweat it because he's a scholar, AP. Islam is laughed in actual Ivy League academia. No Nobel Peace Awards, no intellectual merit. That's very Islamophobic of you to say, but I appreciate the super chat.
That's
Thank
very
you so
bigoted.
Much. Yeah. Dragon Fist 900 said, hey, David, is there an email I could use to contact you? I wanted to talk to you about some apologetic stuff.
There's an email on my YouTube channel. If you go to the About page.
Yeah, in the About section.
I'm pretty horrible at checking email, though. I sometimes go days without it. So
yeah.
I sometimes go days without checking email. And it's mainly because I get like hundreds of messages a day, and it kind of like, I can't handle all this, so I just ignore it.
Yeah.
But sometimes I do check, so you could try.
We've heard these excuses before, David. But yeah, it's the same thing for me. Dude, what are you doing? Sorry, my cat is trying to climb on me all the time. Alex Tremo Del Norte said, are video and photography haram, or how do those work? Depends on who you ask. Mm-hmm. Depends on who you ask. There was recently a Muslim scholar who even said that making YouTube videos is haram. And he said that in a YouTube video because YouTube places ads on your videos regardless of whether they are monetized or not, and you just can't do that. You can't let YouTube play music in front of your videos because that would be disgusting. You're basically spreading corruption in the community for which you deserve to be punished. So it really depends on who you ask. But photography, what I heard as I was growing up as a Muslim from my scholars was generally, if we take photos, we should simply take them for to remember things or for functional purposes. We should not frame photos and hang them up in a room, because that will be wrong, and it will keep out the angels. The angels will not come into our house,
and you might end up worshiping that thing.
Yeah. What if I have a photo of my grandpa on the wall, and then I suddenly am tempted to worship my grandpa instead of Allah, and then I go to hell? I mean, think for a second. Yeah, so that's basically the logic of that. But thank you for the super chats here. Intermediary Fossil made a super chat and didn't say anything. This is actually, I'm just being very stupidly sarcastic, but people actually say these things. People actually say these things. These are things that I heard throughout my life. These are really seriously things that you hear as a Muslim. Greg Conowitz said, read the comment that said planners, not deceivers. Can we make this very short? I would say, from my perspective, the most linguistically accurate thing would actually be that it says they plot and Allah plots, and Allah is the best of plotters. In the context, within the reference, it clearly refers to them plotting to or deceiving Muhammad and the Muslims in order to harm them. And Allah then compares himself to them with the exact same word and says that he is a better plotter, a better deceiver than them. So within the context, it's pretty clear.
Yeah, and it comes from the word makar, which means deception. So Allah is the best of those who do deception. But notice, I mean, even if you wanted to say just plotting, I have no problem with translating as plotting or planning, as long as it's the kind of plotting and planning that involve deception, right? And if you look at the context, both of the main passages that you would go to is in the context of Allah deceiving people, right? So it uses it in Surah 8. And what's the context there? Allah tricks and deceives the Muslims into thinking that they're not going to be massively outnumbered by deceiving Muhammad through a dream. And then in Surah 3, what's the context? It's Allah tricks and deceives the Jews into thinking that they've overcome Jesus when they actually hadn't. And so it's actually in the context of Allah deceiving people. And so
True.
Plotting, planning, whatever you want to do, but it's deceiving them.
Alhamdulillah for this beautiful clarification by Brother Dawood. Infidel Noodle said, nice hijab, brother. Can I have one with an AP logo?
Hey, you should get it like right there, like Captain America. AP.
That would actually be a good idea. By the way, Infidel Noodle has a wonderful YouTube channel. She is recently outspoken and doing a lot of great stuff. I have had her on this channel recently. She's doing great work. Please go and subscribe to her as well. Yeah, that's it. And I was not paid to say this. Okay. Stefan Milevi said, AP, show your cat. I would. It's just hard to handle him. He plays very roughly with me. Just bit me for fun. That's what cats do, apparently. Abraham Siko said, hello, David Wood. I only have one question. Has the YouTube safety team finally banned you? God bless you, and God bless you, AP.
There are still videos on my channel, so I clearly haven't had my channel canceled. Basically, they keep banning me and unbanning me. We talked about this earlier. I keep winning all the appeals, but they will actually ban you. And they have this guilty until proven innocent policy where you'll get flagged somehow, and they'll just tell you you're banned for a week. Then you submit an appeal, and I win the appeals eventually, but they'll keep you banned for a while. So I'm not banned right now. I can post a video right now if I wanted to. And I'll post, if I don't get a video out tomorrow, I'll get one out the next day. But yeah, I mentioned earlier in the video, I've just been, fixing some stuff, building some new stuff.
Yeah. My cat is trying to talk to you right now. He wants to preach to you.
Man, I can't stand cats.
This is my new cat. His name is Abdullah Mahmoud Herbert. I chose that name very especially and carefully.
You want to know how messed up I am?
What? How messed up were you?
Back before I was a Christian, when I was a kid, I used to grab cats by their necks, by their throats, and pin them down. and they would wrap their front claws around me, and then their back claws, they do this sort of rapid flipping out motion where they try to claw the crap out of you with their back legs, but they get really fast with it like this. And I used to hold the cat there and let it rip apart my arm. I had scars for years. They eventually went away, but I would just sit there and hold a cat down and see how long I could take the cat clawing up my arm trying to get away. Anyway, that's D Wood before he was a Christian, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Don't do such things. Don't be like David.
No, I'm nice to animals now.
Yeah. Of course, I was just kidding. I didn't name my cat Abdullah Mahmoud Herbert. His name is actually A Puss. Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, someone's asking for an origami cat.
Oh yeah, that would be fun.
Maybe I'll send you an origami cat, AP, and then
yeah, maybe we could do that, and then I could take that and give you my real cat. Yeah, fantastic. All right, mate. Stefan Milievi. Oh yeah, I read that. Nedaman. Okay, these are the last 3 super chats, and then we'll have to go because
I said I had to go half an hour ago.
Yeah, Nidaman Carpentry said Dr. J has dissected the Quran in its language, and it's not from the 7th century. It's even debatable whether Muhammad referred to in the book he existed or not. Yeah, I don't know. I have to look into that. I haven't really looked into anything that he has done so far, to be very honest. But
yeah, there are multiple problems with the Quran going back to other sources and so on. And yeah, I believe Muhammad existed, but it is definitely debatable because I've debated it multiple times, and it is hard. It is hard to defend the existence of Muhammad when the main sources you'd go to come from more than a century later.
Yeah. What he said. Greg Conowitz said, but they try to change it to make it look better. Yeah. What is that in reference to? I don't know. Something that we were just talking about maybe 2 minutes ago or so.
They try to change it to make it look better.
I don't know. I don't know. But yes, I agree, Greg. I agree very much. Hakitas Quiditas said the cat should be called a pussycat. Yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, that is a good idea. But I already called the cat a puss, so that's already a settled matter.
That person might have posted that comment before you said it.
Yeah, maybe. I was faster. Helena Fabian said, your kitty is cute, AP. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And Abraham Seiko said, please don't that cat walk. What? Please don't that cat walk.
Don't let that cat walk on the Quran.
Okay. Muslims will be mad that the Quran claim on cats not being able to walk on the Quran is not working, and the fatwa will be on your head for proving it. David did that already, right? David,
yeah, I did that. And that's another example where it would never. I wouldn't have a cat walk on the Quran, right? I think like this. I think this is a low, silly level of responding, but when I got literally hundreds of messages telling me that a cat will not walk on the Quran, and this is the clear proof. One dude like spammed all my videos, making claims in the comment section that this is the miraculous proof. And then, so what do you do, right? They're putting this forward as a test, as like a challenge. Try it. A cat will not walk on the Quran. So then I put a Quran on the floor. Cat walks all over it. And then, oh, look at this evil person. What kind of sick person would do that? Guys, like this, right? I would not have done this if you weren't mouthing off about Lars Vilks being a warning to the rest of us and so on. Guys, quit behaving really badly if you don't want us to respond. Very simple. Yeah.
By the way, I was joking about the name of my cat. The name of my cat is actually Richard Parkins, and I also have a dog whose name is Douglas Furry. So those are my pets. Yeah, they are having a very good time together. All right, I guess that's it. Is there anything else that you want to add to this beautiful conversation, this very productive live stream where we have done so many great things, and where I have literally humiliated and destroyed David Wood before the eyes of 1,200 people?
Yeah, I'll just give my famous tagline: "Stay away from Islam."
Oh yeah, stay away from Islam, boy. And we are leaving. Okay, I have to do this one more before, otherwise my heart will ache.
It's all right. I had to be gone 40 minutes ago, but that's okay.
Okay, one last one. Ari Wasserman said, "O Prophet, peace and blessings be upon you. Would it be halal for a follower less principled than I to fantasize about you and the sacred Apis as you are in such an alluring hijab because you are the holy prophet?" I give permission.
I mean, keep in mind, according to the Muslim claim about Muhammad being in Song of Solomon, that was about a woman lusting after the person there in chapter 5, and Muslims say that it's Muhammad, but this is about Solomon's wife, and so Muslims are saying that Solomon's wife was lusting after Muhammad in some sort of vision of him, even though he wasn't going to be born for another 1600 years. And so got to be okay to lust after a prophet according to Dawa, according to the Dawa teams.
Absolutely. By the way, I went on the whole stream with Hamza and the Kaaba thing. They are still very much stuck on that. They are very angry about that. I even tried to join the arena again after that, but they didn't accept me. They didn't want me on there because I made them so mad, which is very, very, very terrible. But yeah, they have no defense when it comes to how the Kaaba is not found in historical records or nor within context of the Bible where it should be found if it was indeed this big
The
thing.
Kaaba is right here.
Yeah, it's right here in David.
Did you know that Ishmael folded this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Ishmael folded this. I got it.
And then he invited mankind to come there, but nobody came because.
Could you imagine someone bowing down and worshiping this and then saying it's not idolatry?
I would worship it totally. All right, let's go. My cat is here again, but we have to go.
All right.
Have a fantastic day, everybody. Thanks for coming. Thanks for joining. Thanks for listening to this wonderful conversation. David Wood has been humiliated. Fantastic day. Have a good night and stay away from Islam. But I will let David say it for the last time and then we will go.
Stay away from Islam, but wear a burqa.
Yeah. Yes. Thanks.